Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so while we wait for the videos from about CML to come up, I would just like to say one or two things about why we decided to go ahead with this. Last year, we started off with Beyond the Pages, what sells and why. And the feedback we got from it were exceptional, and we thought, okay, now we are in the era of artificial intelligence, and there's a need for us to have conversations around it and to understand what forms the originality of content and the ethics also in the ways that would maximize AI. And that is what has given birth to this second series. And I'm sure that we would also have an interesting event today. So I think the About AML video is up now. So let's enjoy it. Thank you.
Writer's block. Stuck on where to start, got a story to tell, not sure where to begin?
Our publishing and editorial experts are here to help you draft, edit, and publish your story. Take the first step by booking a free consultation today. But hurry, slots are limited.
Our services include ghostwriting, editing, proofreading, e-book sales, book promotions, and more.
Let's bring your story to life. Contact us now. Your story deserves to be told. Let's make it unforgettable.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luba Rachel, and I welcome you to today's webinar. Thanks to all our speakers for honoring our invitations, and thanks also to our participants for joining today's webinar, Beyond the Pages 2.0. So this webinar is being organized by A-Line Media, which is a strategic communication firm. We created Beyond the Pages as a platform for conversations around writing, publishing, and trends shaping the industry, the publishing industry. So our theme for this year is authorship at the crossroads. Now it is about it's going to boil down to originality, ethics, and AI in contemporary writing. So we'll be having speakers having conversations on on artificial intelligence and the way it's being used today to create content and other things, and the concerns around intelligence. So as writers, editors, all navigating this AI can do, but it's not what AI can do, but how can it responsibly, how can it be responsible? Like how can we take responsibility in ensuring that we maintain authenticity and human perception? Okay, so we're grateful to our speakers. Thank you. Thank you to our keynote speaker. Thank you to all the panelists for honoring our invitation. And thanks to everyone who has taken your time to join us today. We hope you have a fruitful time with us today and you enjoy the webinar. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive session. Thank you very much.
Next on the line is the keynote speech, which will be delivered by Mr. Samson Itodo.
Technology is not just changing how we engage or how we communicate, but it is really posing challenges for creativity, for authorship, and the very meaning of writing itself. And I understand why airline media actually decided to focus on this whole concept of originality, ethics, and AI in contemporary authorship, because we are indeed at the crossroad. So for decades, authorship has been based on some, I would say, relative stable understanding. We know what an author is, and I see there are a couple of authors here. An author is a person, who conceives, who thinks, who writes, and is responsible for a piece of work. Over time, we've seen originality celebrated and praised as the expression of human ingenuity and intellectual labor, because it takes, so much intellectual power to conceive, to write, and to really express oneself. So writing wasn't necessarily considered as assembling words, but it's an extension of human experience, memory, imagination, and consciousness. For those who have written books or even written articles, whether they are poems or whatever, you clearly see an expression of people's lived experiences. So when you think about authorship, when you think about writing, it's not just about assembling words. But you know what, my dear friends, that understanding is under question today, because we are at a crossroad. With the rise of AI, machines can now write essays, poems, stories, speeches, research summaries, and they can even imitate the style of very famous actors, both present and those who have gone. And its capacity to produce content within seconds that takes hours, sometimes even years of intellectual work. And I say even for my book project, which A-Line published, it took about, the book was only released this year from 2020. Not AI Media's fault, my fault, because I wasn't getting back to them promptly on some of the pieces. But like I said on the streets, what AI cannot do does not exist. And you see, this development, I must say, is a tremendous opportunity, but it leaves us with profound questions. And I hope that as we go into the panel session, I'd just like to highlight a few questions that we should ponder upon, because these questions are not questions of technique or technicalities. They are essential philosophical and moral questions that we have to deal with in these contemporary times, because indeed we're at a crossroad. And the bigger question is, what does it mean to be an author in this age of AI generating, or what you call text generating algorithms? What does it mean to be an author? Now, that's the first question. The second question I would say is, what happens to originality when machines are fed with, content, with libraries of human expression? It's something that we must ask ourselves. What happens to originality? And I'll speak more on this. But also, who is responsible for generating those ideas through whether it's human or machine collaboration, as the case may be? And we also have to ask ourselves, what do we perceive as the ethical underpinnings of intellectual work, intellectual creation, alongside this technological innovation? So when you think about originality, and I say, let's talk about originality, perhaps the first thing to do is to really question this idea of originality. Yes, every writer is a solitary man or woman. Every author is inspired by past books, by conversations, by cultures, by experiences, in fact, by traditions, because literature has always been, and in so many ways, a conversation that has gone through different generations. So when you look at the text of any publication, any book, it does bear the traces of other texts. That's why there's a lot of referencing. in the course of publications. But there's something so very human in originality. It's about the creation from scratch. It offers us an opportunity to provide a unique perspective about how we interpret the experiences that we go through in our daily lives, and especially in the world. It's how we express our joys, our sufferings, how we experience or even express pain and loss, and in some cases, how we express our fears. And all of this happen in original voice because they are created by our memories, our values, and sometimes our moral imagination. But when you look at artificial intelligence, the bigger question is AI can generate patterns, from existing information. Of course, it can detect structure, it can detect several things. But the key question is, can AI experience, or does it know grief? Does it know injustice? Does it know love? Does it experience fear, courage? It's a debatable issue. But from where I stand, I doubt that it can, even though there have been efforts to try to get ChatGPT and other LLMs to experience it. But AI can never be human. It has no biography. It has no memories. It doesn't even have moral agency. So whilst its outputs, what it produces might resemble creativity, but they're really, I must say, with a deep sense of responsibility, they are different, from the human experience of creation. And that makes a significant difference because writing is not just about producing language, it's really about expression drawn from lived experience. When you think about the ethical challenges that we face, and I'm sure they will talk about this in great detail, there are several ethical dilemmas. The first one is about attribution and plagiarism, and the question about honesty and intellectual integrity. Anyone who works with schools, who understand our education system, will know that education institutions, publishers, and professional communities are seriously grappling with this issue of honesty and intellectual integrity, especially when someone submits AI-generated work as their own work. I think the second ethical issue is about ownership. Yes, AI systems are trained on huge amounts of data, sometimes even human-generated content such as books. The bigger question is these models that were trained from other creators, whose work actually being used to build this. Did they consent to using their work to train these AI models? Do they get credited? Do they get compensated? The question is actually no in most cases. So it poses, serious questions about intellectual property. And then thirdly is this point about authenticity. And historically, when you think about writing, it's been seen really as a function of human reasoning. And the work produced by AI can be distinguished from human writing. And the key question is, how do we judge learning, expertise, and originality? Teachers assess students in different ways, but the question is, how can publishers actually check for authenticity? How do we, as societies, how do we keep trust in written communication? And maybe to say this, as I try to conclude, is a question about accountability. Are AI systems accountable? Who is holding them to account, especially when there's misinformation or when there are hallucinations, any form of accountability? So those are really difficult questions. But I'll say that we should not resist the temptation, or we should resist the temptation to think that this debate is about man and machine. And I say that if you look across board, even from the advent of social media to AI, there have been technological advances that really changed writing. So when you look at how the tools that are being used for writing, whether it's knowledge, whether different tools, the truth is the internet has democratized publishing. And artificial intelligence is another chapter in this story. That's how I tend to look at this, because AI can help writers to brainstorm ideas, to organize data, to translate languages using natural language processors. It can even help you overcome writer's block. It can speed up research. it can make it more accessible to people with disabilities. But the question is, should AI be used in writing? The question has already been answered. The most important question is, what kind of relationship do we want between human creativity and artificial intelligence? And I just want to propose, what I call pathways. The first one is about open-mindedness. And this is the first principle, that writers need to be transparent about the degree and the type of AI that they use in the course of their work. The second is about responsibility. AI should augment human judgment and not replace it. That's why keeping humans in the loop is one of the foundational principles for managing AI. And authors are responsible for accuracy, for ethics and originality, and also the consequences that their ideas generate. And thirdly is really intentionality. And technology should augment and enhance human creativity and not detract from it. So my conclusion is, every generation that's had technological disruption has been forced to re-examine what it means to be human. So this is not the first time, quite frankly. This is just the artificial intelligence moment of our own time and generation. And yes, we're at the crossroad of authorship. And not the end of human creativity. And that's my argument. But it's really the beginning of perhaps a renegotiation of human intelligence and machine capability. So when you think about the future of writing, it doesn't just belong to humans or machines alone. It will belong to those who are able to seize technology without losing their humanity, because writing is beyond words. It's about expressions from our lived experiences. How you embrace innovation without forsaking ethics, how you realize that originality is not about making words, but really engaging with conscience, with imagination, and lived experiences will determine how far we go. So let's choose a future where technology enhances creativity and doesn't replace it, and where I would say authorship is nothing less than an expression of our common humanity. Again, I thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope I've raised some questions that would help us and provoke some conversations. Once again, thanks A-Line Media for inviting me to contribute to this study discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sampson. I think that was very, very deep. And I would have loved to read your citation, because I know that you're also pioneering a research process for artificial intelligence, the use of artificial intelligence in election and some other stuff, right? And I think that you actually hit the nail on the head this time, and it sets us on a very good tone to continue this conversation, right? You spoke about the open-mindedness of authors. How much transparency they can actually put into writing to still ensure that their creativity is seen, even while they maximize AI, and also the responsibility for us to take ownership of what we're actually writing and not, hide and take short corners to use AI to do all. And also the originality too, because creativity is original, and then we need to always embrace it. I think these are fantastic topics. And based on the questions you've asked, I think it would help us even in our conversation for the panel session. I understand that you would want to leave now, but before you leave, I would like to implore us to the panelists and the keynote speakers to please, let's have a picture before Mr. Sampson leaves, right? So we can turn on our video. So that it can be screenshots, so that we can have it in our archives that we had this wonderful webinar together. Thank you.
Thank you. Please let me apologize to members of the panel. I am in the midst of an election in Ekiti, and I've had several, and that's why, and I really apologize. And I'm glad this is recorded, so I can come back to this. And please feel free, if you've got any questions. You don't need to agree with me, by the way. I love it when people don't agree with me. So it helps deepen our understanding and knowledge. So I really apologize, but I would have loved to stay. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we've had a wonderful time with Mr. Sampson with our keynote speech. And I'm sure that there are a lot of questions and answers that we already have. Would implore our audience to please make use of the icon, the Q&A icon, to drop your questions, and they will be promptly answered. Also, we'll have some polls that will run through during the session. So we'll be glad also if you can help us attempt this as they come. A poll will go out now. And after the panel session or during the panel session, a poll will also go out. I would prompt us also as soon as it's time for that. Now, what we'll be doing next is going straight into the panel session. And I'm really excited because this issue is one that has been at the topmost mind of a number of writers and a number of authors, right? Even so many publishing houses, they are always concerned about this originality. I remember we were trying to upload a book on Amazon, and Amazon was also asking us to confirm if the book was written using AI or not. So it's a big question for us. If you're a writer, if you're an editor, a publisher, a content creator, or anyone who loves to tell stories or just loves this kind of conversation. And that's the reason why we're gathered here. So we'll move straight into the panel session, and I'll be introducing the first panelist. Navy Captain Folorunsho Shaw is an officer of the Nigerian Navy with extensive experience in maritime operation, defense strategy, engineering, and strategic communication. He holds a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from the Nigerian Defense Academy and several master's degrees, including War Study Maritime from the National Defense University, Pakistan, International Affairs and Defense Studies from NDA, Energy Management from the World Maritime University, Sweden, and National Security and Strategic Studies from the United States Naval War College. He also holds a graduate degree in Ethics and Emerging Military Technology from the United States Naval War College. He has served abroad several Nigerian Navy ships, including NNS Erinomi, NNS Ayam, NNS Barama, where he held engineering and operational appointments. He also participated in Operation Enduring Peace, contributing to internal security operations and national stability efforts. Captain Folorunsho is a recipient of several honors, including the Chief of Naval Staff Awards for Academic Excellence and the United Nations Mission in South Sudan Force Commanders Commendation Award. He is currently the Director of Information and Spokesperson of the Nigerian Navy. Please join me as I welcome Captain Folorunsho Shaw to the panel. You're welcome, sir. She's an accomplished freelance copy editor who has been shaping literary works since 2018. With a background in law, she brings analytical rigor and meticulous attention to detail to every manuscript she handles. Nkechi has worked with a diverse range of authors across fiction and non-fiction genres, from self-published writers launching their literary career to established publishing houses seeking polished, publication-ready manuscripts. Her collaborative approach and editorial expertise have contributed to numerous projects, some of which have garnered critical recognition and acclaim. As a member of the Society for Book and Magazine Editor, Nkechi remains current with industry standards and best practices. Her commitment to excellence makes her a trusted partner for authors and publishers at every level of industry. Please join me as I welcome Nkechi Usan. Nkechi is also a magistrate. So, Your Worship, you are welcome to this wonderful panel session. Next on the line is Akinwumi Akunwo.
You remain.
Sorry, go ahead, ma.
Corrigible, Emmanuel. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma.
I'm done. Good morning. You are still incorrigible. Good morning, everyone. It's your miss this morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much, ma. So next on the panel session is Akinwumi Akunwo. Akinwumi Akunwo is a social impact and innovation architect, with over 15 years of experience across technology, banking, international development, and social innovation. His expertise spans program design and delivery, impact measurement and learning, impact storytelling, business strategy, governance, and leadership. Is particularly passionate about strengthening organizations that pursue both social and economic impact. Is an experienced entrepreneurship trainer and curriculum designer. Akimi has developed and delivered incubation and accelerator programs that equip entrepreneurs to build resilient and high-performing ventures. He currently leads the evidence and learning agenda at Youth Business International (YBI), where he helps generate and apply evidence to strengthen programs supporting young entrepreneurs around the world. Akinwumi is also the author of the forthcoming book, Architecture of Us, which explores holistic people-centered leadership and provides practical insights on how to build teams where people flourish and performance scales. Please join me as I welcome Akinwumi Akonjo to the panel also. You're welcome, Akinwumi.
Thank you very much, and it's definitely a privilege to be here. And of course, hello to other panelists. Nkechi, nice to see you face to face.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akinwumi. So the next on my list is Martins Ugu. Martins Ugu is a researcher, academic writer, ghostwriter also, and development professional with a strong background in economics and multidisciplinary research. Over the years, he has worked extensively in academic and professional writing, supporting students, researchers, and professionals in the development of dissertations, research projects, journal manuscripts, book proposals, and technical documents across diverse disciplines. Through his work, he has supported numerous undergraduate and postgraduate students, as well as professionals, in achieving their academic and research goals. He has, through his ghostwriting services, written a lot of books for clients of high caliber. He himself is an author of numerous books, including Think Success, Think Luck, which he authored as a student of the University of Lagos in 2018. Beyond his professional engagements, he is committed to mentoring aspiring writers and researchers, encouraging critical thinking, effective communication, and responsible use of technology in the writing process. Please join me as I welcome Martins Ugu to the panel also. You're welcome, Martins. Yeah, so going directly to the panel session, just like I mentioned earlier, the concern is around originality, ethics, and the use of AI in our writing. And I think, so the first questions I would like to ask is there really a crossroad? And is there really a crossroad? And I think I'll throw this question directly to Martins because he's been in that phase of writing even before AI and even now that there's AI. And I know that you've been maximizing that. So Martins, do you think there's a crossroad for authorship with respect to the originality and the ethics, at this present state?
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Oh, yes, there's a crossroad. And one of the challenges, in fact, the greatest challenges is the proof of authenticity. There are many AI tools right now that can generate, as Itodo has said, that can generate as many essays as possible within the shortest time. But the problem we authors now have is how to distinguish our work from AI-generated work. For instance, the use of M-dashes and hyphens. As an author, when you use M-dashes or hyphens in your work, it is assumed to have used AI. Whereas M-dashes and AI has been existing long before the introduction of AI. Also, there's something called the tricolon, where you have three items separated by commas. You say, Ade is a boy, comma, a good boy, comma, an obedient boy. When people see this kind of statement, they assume it was written by AI. Whereas this is basic English grammar that beautifies your writing. So I would say yes, there is a crossroad. In fact, we are at a very crossroad of proving our authenticity. So I would say yes, there's a crossroad.
Well, thank you so much, Martins. I think I like the direction you're coming from, right? Because I've also had this conversation with some people where we saw an original piece, and then we ran it through AI checker, and it was showing that it had about 70% AI input in it, right? And maybe that would take us to Nkechi, because Nkechi she's the editor here. And as the editor, I don't know, you must have gone through a number of manuscripts. Will you say there's a difference with writing then before AI and now that AI is there? And are there things that actually, things that you watch out for to that points out these differences? Nkechi?
Absolutely. And Martins has mentioned a couple of them. I think it's important to realize that what AI is a compression of large amounts of data. And where is the data coming from? People's writings before now. So it's all of the befuddling thing that we talk about when we think about ourselves, as it were. So yeah, there are a couple of things which it comes to my mind when I see writing. In fact, I'm dealing with one now. First of all, it's hard to articulate it, but first of all, is the fact that it's human writing. There are ups, there are downs. You're leaning into emotion depending on the kind of writing. But with AI, it's kind of like even kill. There is also the use of certain words. In fact, there's one now that I am working out. Not only there is this, I don't know how to put it. Like I said, it's difficult to articulate. But
Okay, I think she's back now.
Let's just take it from where she stopped, and I think it's getting more interesting. So she's establishing the fact that there are actually some words that, yes, would pull it out to her that these are AI written words or AI written manuscripts. And I think from that point, I'd like to go to Navy Captain Folorunsho, because you have been an editor-in-chief for a while. I know you've worked on a couple of so I think you've worked on quite a number of magazines and
Yes, I went off. It's like my internet.
Okay, please try to sort. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was saying,
Nkechi, I think you might need to maybe try to change your network. We're still struggling to hear you. But while you do that, I'm going directly to Navy Captain Folorunsho, right? As an editor of naval publications, do you think there should be policies, right, that should be on AI generated content? Understanding that for the military, you have to be accountable for whatever you're writing, and there is quite a high level of originality that should come with it, because there are technical documents that would be interpreted in different ways. So do you think that there should be policies, or how have you been managing AI generated content with respect to your manuscript, sir?
Sorry. So thank you so very much for having me. This topic is very interesting because before I signed up to be on this panel, I wanted to see what it was that you were going to be talking about and how it resonates with me. Beyond being an editor of several military publications, in the military, there's high premium on dishonesty. And so plagiarism, and it's like you're falling on your sword if you're caught, like you lose your career. That's how big it is. So I'll just take it off from when I was in the United States, Naval War College, which is like the Ivy League for military professional institutions in the United States. ChatGPT came out, I think I just finished the first module when ChatGPT came in. And ChatGPT came in during strategy and policy part. So in the military, there are certain things you cannot AI your way through it. I'm not explaining that now. So it's military war fighting there's no AI for it. It's the art of the possible, where human beings need to really think through strategy to see how they can piece together man and material in space and time to be able to like bring force to bear. So that particular fine bit, you can't AI your way around it. But the literature around it is where, we now have some challenges. So when I was in the US, ChatGPT comes out and everybody was panicking. So immediately, the school, okay, what could we do? The challenge was, okay, now a policy immediately came out. You could use ChatGPT for research, but you can't use it for actual writing. Now, how do you determine what is AI and what is not? In Nigeria, we write with very big words. I mean, those of you that are authors, if you see an average American or European person, they speak in the plainest language possible. We speak with very highfalutin words. We need to, we need to say, very big words to show that we know what we're saying. And if you're a Nigerian, you're not showing off. You understand? But when you are in an international setting, the people think that you're showing off when you speak. Oh, okay, there are two schools. There's one that will feel, oh, you're showing off. You want to show that you went to, you had privileged education. And then there's the other part that will feel like you lose some people, particularly spoken words. But in writing, we learned how to write using all these accordingly, consequently, all those words that we use, co-joining words. So I remember submitting a particular work, spent nights not sleeping. The thing was, when you write, and I know Martins and if Akimi also a writer, when you write, there's a kind of pride that goes with your work. That's particularly if you know what you're doing. You're not want to go looking for someone else's phrases and stuff. There's something that's original to you, which you want to push out there so that it bears your signature, So I remember writing. I had a distinction in that work. And my professor in the college told me that it's like you used AI. Now I was confused because AI came about that time. So there was at the college at the time, so many student officers. These are people that are now admirals in the various navies around the world. We had about 60 something countries, they are very top ranking guys around the world. And so there was, when ChatGPT came out, we didn't even know it wasn't what it could do. The knowledge we have of ChatGPT now was not the same as at the time because it just came out. So what were the possibilities? What could it do? Those were conversations we were having. So when you told me that I used AI, that's a very big deal. They could send me back to Nigeria based off of that accusations. And he knew how grievous it was. And I'm like, why would you? I didn't use AI. I mean, I could share all my manuscripts with you and all that. I like to write with my hands when I want to think before I'm in between analog and digital. But then several weeks afterwards, we did an in-class work. And then he looked at my work. Then he says, oh, this is the way you write. I never get so now just referencing what Martin has said about hyphenation and certain things where you just immediately attribute it to AI. So I could understand what he was going through. He speaks and writes in plain English. I write the way I was trained. I know the more you write, the more you are getting certain words. So that's for me, in my space, is the danger that we have with particularly honest people and knowing the consequence for dishonesty in the military, how this someone, because it's neither here nor there. Eventually, the school got something like a plagiarism test or something that could, but even at that, they could not really tell who was using AI or not. And it calls to question the integrity of people that have worked really hard. I imagine that in the next couple of years, people will begin to say certain things. Oh, you didn't really do it. This is AI. And we'll get those comments now. Now, for military publications, like Avelia said, it's difficult. Now, for regular magazines, this is for us. This is where we have like a feel safe. For our magazines, which those ones are not peer reviewed, they're not journals. Opinions are your opinion. we don't, in fact, we don't, Emmanuel, you would know this. We're not very big on the citation because we really just want to know what's your opinion. And that's where there is a danger because people, we want those opinions of people that have in the field. They've experienced, they've administered men, they've administered resources, they fought wars, they have bullet wounds, and then they can speak with their experience to see how we can better evolve policy and, and how we can better fight. But when those people now seed their brains to AI machines, what it then means is that in a couple of years down the line, what you have is not those thoughts that are from diverse groups of people that have fused it together to now form a body of knowledge that we can leverage to better fight and better evolve policy. So that's where there is a big challenge because now you have someone bring out unmanned aerial systems on how we can use it to fight. But if AI has not fought in Nigeria, AI has never fought in the Northeast. AI doesn't even know, the algorithm for the AI stuff, maybe it's done by some white folk in a temperate region that doesn't even understand the effect of weather and dust on our own military operations, which a Nigerian military officer who has been involved in military operations would know. So you see, then at the end of the day, if you have a lazy man who is a gatekeeper that's also not paying attention to those things, what you have is over a period of time, that knowledge that we're supposed to gain from people that are operators, we don't have it anymore. And then we have a semblance of AI people. So in my so many ramblings, I hope I'm able to
yeah. So I think you more or less expanded the conversation. I mean, and it's getting more interesting. I would be tempted to ask though, if we can then say that AI is doing a disservice than it's helping us. So I had an argument or a conversation with someone, and the person was saying before now we were known as Africans to be strong people. That is, we work with our hands, and then technology came. We started to rely on technology, cars, machine for our farming, and then we became quite lazy, maybe no longer strong. And then he said, now there's AI, and AI is now taking away our creativity, like our ability to think, our ability to be creative, because it's now taking over that part. And then people are less creative as much as they should be. So I think with that point, I would like to go back to Nkechi because I mean, I'm so much interested in what she has to say with respect to this AI and writing outside AI. So Nkechi, I don't know if you have one or two things to add to what you've said before. Nkechi, are you there?
I didn't get the last part of your question. Yes,
So I was saying that based on what you were saying about AI and the things that pass, that takes it out for you when you are editing your manuscript. You were saying some things around the words, the kind of words, and Captain also mentioned it that Nigerians were used to writing with big English, right? So is that in line with your thoughts?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. But there are other things that one can look out for, which is quite apart from the language. Most times AI writing is even killed, whereas human writing will lean in and will cascade or come down depending on what emotion is being expressed at any time. When you're talking about arguments, very often AI deals in the abstract, and unless it is people who really know how to use them, and I know people who use them excellently well, such that it's difficult, to tell. You can actually tell it the voice to use. Into that level of polish, if you like. And so there are abstracts, it's even kill the giveaway words, not only, the use of ellipses, unnecessary. Okay, on the one part, there is the even kill, and then on the other part, there is unnecessary drama where you as the human editor, you are asking.
Over and over again.
Wow. The challenge, I think our internet is really some very nice take.
Nkechi, I think we'll just come back to you while you sort your internet issues, right? But I'll go straight to Akimi. Akimi is a very recent author, so he has more experience now because we're in the ages of AI, right? And I'm sure that, I don't know if you used AI in your writing or if it helped you in any way, but based on your experience, what can you say?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to my own experience. So when I decided to write a book, I didn't decide to write a book because I want to write a book. I am not a writer. I don't intend to write for money. I mean, I kept having conversations with people, and I just had people call me, talk about their bosses, or somebody's talking about leading people. And I knew that there was a big challenge with how people were being led. And I believed very strongly that I had perspective to how I believe that people should be led. So that was why I decided to write a book. And so the most important thing for me was that I had a voice that I wanted to put out. And so if I ended up writing with AI, now I did use AI, and I'll tell you how I used AI. It means that it would lose the very essence of what I wanted to put out, because the idea wasn't to write a book or make money. It was to say that I believe I have something that people need to hear in how to be able to lead people. So when I started to put that out, I mean, the book is, and I did set up myself because I structured the book in an A to Z format. And so what that meant was that I needed to think about what A meant, what B meant, what C meant, and that brought me to 26. And all of the 26 points that I wrote there were 26 points that were mine. There were 26 points in what I believed in. There were 26 points that if you took the book away from me and you called me to a leadership training, what I'm going to say are those 26 things, because it is who I am. Do you understand? But the reality is that, and when I began to write, I mean, I put out the idea, started to write and all of that. This is where AI started to come in, and I would share. So because I was writing originally, I got to a point where I had mental block, or where I got to M, for example, or got to O, for example, and I didn't know what to write. And I was just out. And I spoke to a friend, and he said, use AI now. I'm like, yeah, I'll use AI, but I want it to be my thoughts, because I want anybody who knows me. I mean, many people will read the book that don't know me, but those who know me, I want them to see me through this book. So I would write as much as I could, and then what I did was to put on AI to clean it up. So clean it up, correct, proofread, and all of that. Let me tell you where it began to get interesting, because I believe very strongly that AI is like a car. It will be very silly of anybody to say that I'm not going to use cars. You will use car. You do understand that you just use your leg. AI is a vehicle. And the point is that you, as the writer, must stay at the driver's seat, and you must determine the speed, you must determine the direction. So if I want to go from Lagos to Abuja or Ibadan, I will stay in the driver's seat, determine the direction of the car, determine the speed of the car, determine where the car stops and all of that, because the experience that people have, while the car gives an experience, but there is a way that I drive that will give somebody more comfort than the way that you drive. So at the end of the day, it's about how I lead it. And so I ensured that, let me backtrack a bit. There were three editors that worked on my book. Three. The first person, in fact, I wish I had more time to take you through her feedback. Her feedback helped me to see that you can't AI your way out of this thing. She spoke about how the thoughts is good, that this is that, but in terms of clarity on who the audience is for, in terms of being vulnerable and using stories that connected to people, in terms of all of that, guess what? The script that I sent to her was the script that I've used AI to clean. So at the end of the day, the AI still produced something that was similar to the way that I don't know how to explain it. What I gave it was what it cleaned up. Do you understand? And so the real crux of it at the end of the day, it was still mine for me to go back into it, lean into it, and begin to think about what needed to be done. Let me give you another example. Eventually, I had two other editors work on it. I mean, and funny enough, Nkechi is one of them. She's a lawyer. My other editor, a fantastic friend, she's a doctor, is a psychiatrist. And you imagine how a doctor and a psychiatrist could do this thing well. The kind of feedback that both of them gave me, they were the kind of feedback that AI could not give me in terms of leaning into my stories, in terms of being able to not being scared to be vulnerable. What AI would do was make it as, I don't know if I mean, it just gives you the framework, but into the depth of it, something that connects with the user. One of the, I mean, when Tammy worked on when she gave me the feedback, I saw the rigor that Tammy went. And one of the things that she did was all of the citations, references, she matched every reference to where it can be found. Guess what? When I attempted to use AI to match references, AI was giving me references that did not exist anywhere. I mean, I probably had a thought on psychological safety, and I said, give me reference on psychological safety. We looked for some of them; they did not exist. And Tammy did the work of finding those references and connecting them. Do you understand? Finally, one of the beautiful things that I experienced because when Nkechi then started to do the final correction and all of that, we had a chat, and she said something of when she started to read the book, that it was something that stood out for her. There was a point I made in the book that she was like, wow, that it meant it was on Groom, Guide, and Guard. And she talked about how it was just very, like it was a light bulb moment for her. I was grinning. Thank God it was not a video call because I was blushing. Honestly, what made me blush was that point that made sense to her, it was 100% mine. And I mean, people might feel different way of, I mean, let's just do this, let's just put this out. But I think that at the end of the day, one of the things that I want to be able to do is that if I go out, I mean, this is virtual, so I might as well be reading something and talking to you now. But there will be instances where I have to go in front of people and talk about these things. I must be able to tell them almost anything that would have been in that book because it is mine. But if it's AI and all of that, again, the point is, how do you leverage on AI? But the originality, the real essence of it, the core of it, I mean, it still has to be yours. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Akinwumi. I think you went very far, right? And a lot of the points that you gave, I mean, I so much align with them. But there are still some other questions, right? Now, you give an example of trying to run citations through AI, right? I've seen people use it, right? And they get the actual result. I know Martins you know how to maximize AI. So I don't know what is your experience different from what Akinwumi has had?
No, it's not different. We have same experience. Just that the citation part is where I may not agree with. Like, I think the command you give to AI determines what it gives you back. So, to some extent, AI can generate authentic citations. Because our discussion is about Crossroads, yeah? AI knows a lot of things. That is undeniable. It can do a lot of things. So the originality part is where I have problem with. But generating real citation, I think AI can.
So
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that, of course, it does, and there were some that were correct. But I also had, I had some of them. I mean, I'll probably go into them and see, but I know that we had some of them that they didn't exist. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, they just
sorry,
cited something, but
sorry,
they didn't.
sorry. I
So
need
yeah.
to throw my heart in here now.
Mhm.
So, in the military, our staff colleges are like I've schooled in universities in Europe, in Asia, and in the US. But I'd say that staff colleges in Nigeria is actually the level of application that we expect of officers is actually very, very high. I don't know how to explain this to you. So I was a directing staff. So like the editorial work kind of thing you're doing. So we do a lot of, so we don't just, we'll get solutions from our students, officers as it is. You need to like line by line explain, so there's so much. This is not the time for it. It's not even known to you because the conversations you're having. So two things, Akinwumi, I just wanted to speak to it so I don't forget. Number one, you're absolutely correct with AI and citation. I don't know what Martins is talking about, but Martins, and I'm willing to have that conversation with you. And on the average, every year, I probably would do a 15,000 word, high level journalistic kind of thing, journal where I would need to like match, your citation. I've not been able to get AI to. I use certain AI tools, but I have to manually put in those things. But to tell AI that give me citation for this, like Akinomi rightly observed, some will be correct, but I'm yet to see. But I mean, maybe I don't know it as well as you do. The second thing, and that's to Akinomi, originality. I think you speak very well. So there's a danger of you using very fine words to mask the issue of originality. And I think your analogy of driving a car is actually the problem. The problem it was what you're citing. You're not citing a solution. And I'll tell you why. You speak to Nkechi looking at a certain part of your work and being a light bulb moment and all that. How would you feel if that same work can be produced almost identical somewhere, where then they now start saying, is this Akinwumi or is this who? Which is where the AI problem sits. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So yes, I agree completely that AI is here to stay. And it's just the same way in 1999, when the computer was coming, that the world was going to end. The world is always going to evolve. And these things will always remain tools. But in terms of creative writing, where there's an origin, because actually AI can give you creative writing. The issue right now is the original thought, the thing that distinguishes your work. AI chips away at that particular fact. And AI is not you in the driver's seat. AI is an autonomous vehicle. You are sitting behind. You probably tell it, I want to go to Ikeja. But it's not that you are the one driving and saying, okay, no, you know what? I'm going to turn the steering. No, you're sitting behind. And I think if there's anything about the crossroad argument is, how do we have an Ikechi, for instance, who is on a detour, be able to tell apart? Because you will still see some AI work and you probably not be able to tell that this is not a human being that's done it. So I'm not in the military circle, like I told you, for us, it's not about, it's not a slap on the wrist. Dishonesty for us means that we can't commit money into your hands. We can't commit people's lives into your hands. There's so many things. So we treat, people have lost their careers. Alamesia, who was governor of Bayelsa State, the reason why he was thrown out of the military as a squadron leader was because he was dishonest with his work. Not that he did anything, just dishonest with his work. So I wanted to put that out there, particularly as it relates to originality and AI, and of course the citation thing.
Thank you so much, Captain. I know Akinwumi, you have something to say, and Martins also. But while we wait for that, I don't know. I'm thinking Nkechi might be a very good person to answer this question. But before I go ahead, please, to our audiences, we have the Q&A icon on your screen. Please ensure that you maximize it. Drop your questions, and then answers will be provided by the panelists at intervals. Also, we're having a poll. I'll go up shortly. Please do well to engage with it. So for Nkechi, now, we're speaking about this AI and, originality. If I have a thought or I have an idea, and then I drop that idea and I give it to AI to flesh it out, can it be considered as an original document? I mean, you are the editor, so I'm sure that I don't know how a lot of authors write, right? But the concern here is how to ensure that there's originality and there's also an ethical use of AI in ensuring that our writings are creative as much as they should be. So, Nkechi, what will you say? Are we saying that we shouldn't, if I give machine my initial thoughts and I ask it to flesh it out, does it stop being original, or the other way around? I don't know. Nkechi, are you there? Oh, I think Nkechi is not here at the moment. So I mean, let's have Martins go next. Martins. While we wait for Nkechi to come back.
Yeah. The same question for Nkechi, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead with that, sir.
If I feed my thought into AI,
yes,
and AI produces it back to me, no, I don't consider it as an original piece. It's not. As a writer, I'm speaking from the perspective of a writer now. Maybe an editor has a different perspective, I don't know. But as a writer, there is a part AI cannot replace, no matter how good or how effective the AI is, and no matter how perfect the command you give to the AI, because I believe AI works on commands. So there is this part of, it's, let's say, human ingenuity. No machine can replace that part. I think Captain already spoken about that part concerning originality. I think, sorry, Mr. Akewumi. So everything you feed into AI and AI gives it back, I don't consider it as an original piece. But when you there are some, I think I wanted to say that time before Captain came in. There are ways, I think this is a business secret. I shouldn't be revealing this, but no problem. When AI gives, as a writer, when AI gives me a piece, there's a way to humanize it. There are some tools that you can use that even if the school, no matter how advanced the school is, passes the script or the piece through AI check, it will come out at 0% AI or 100% human written. So I think technology, while it creates a problem, it also creates should I say that's a solution or a cheat? I don't know what to say it is. But to the question you asked, when you feed your thoughts into machine, and machine gives it back to you, I don't think I can consider it as an original piece.
At what? Sorry. Hello? Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Then do you maximize machine? Because now it's seeming as though machine coming up or leveraging AI should be a no-no when you have to do it, when it has to do with originality, right? Because that's how it's sounding. And I think that's the crossroads that we have as authors. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
You're asking at what point do I maximize AI?
And then that it cannot be considered
can you hear me?
Or that it can be considered as originality.
Please, the question is not very clear to me.
Yeah, so I'm saying that now you're saying that if I put in my thoughts into AI and it fleshes it out for me, you can't consider it as an original piece. That's your point, right? So I'm
Yes.
asking that at what point then can I maximize AI and still get original documents? Because at every point in time, when you are giving a command to AI, the command is based on what you're thinking, and that is what is going to act on. So when you say it's not original, I'm a little careful to know, okay, when do we now determine what is original and what is not?
You can use AI to refine whatever you have written. So in my opinion, that is still an original piece. You have written, as a writer, I sit down with my inspiration, I get my thoughts down. So I believe at times as humans, we are prone to mistakes, to errors. So we can feed that piece into AI and help it to refine, check for grammar mistake. I think there's a particular tool that can do that. Quill BOT. I think it can do that. It's an AI as well. So, but if you focus on ChatGPT, on Grok, and the likes, you can, okay, ChatGPT, look at this piece. Help it to refine the grammar, the vocabulary, and is there any grammar mistakes in the piece? So if it does that, it is not rewriting what you feed it. It is only checking through at this particular point, this sentence, or this paragraph, line 2, paragraph 1, there's a grammar mistake there. So it points it out to you. Then you go ahead and edit whatever piece you are writing on. So that is how best to leverage AI.
Maybe I should make it clearer. Let me cite an example. I want to eat bread. That's what I wrote. And then I tell the AI, please help me embellish it into 3 sentences. Right? I want to eat bread. That's what I want to say. But I feel that I want to eat bread is too direct and I want more words. Will you say it's still not original? Captain, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so here, so if you have read my bio, you have seen that I have a graduate certificate in ethics and emerging military technology. So ethics, some of the things we're talking about here borders on ethics, because ethics, morality, so that's one part. Then if you have if you have an IT background, you also know that when you write algorithms, what you're intending to do is to fine-tune processes, one. Number two, to mass produce. So your prompts, because what you are saying is different from what Akinwumi said. What you're saying, you're talking about prompts. You know what prompts are. So you're going to prompt. So you can keep feeding prompts until maybe you have like a 3-paragraph document that does not resemble anything you really thought through, but came about as a result of me embellishing to three lines. Okay, these 3 lines. Can we now, okay, what if you say this man goes to the market and does this? So the AI is helping you, but it's really not the question is not you that owns it. It's different from what an Akinwumi does, where he writes, he's the one that did his writing. The part where we had a departure was the mental block part, but he did his writing and then he cleans it. So is the job, the part that there is an issue right now is the editing part, which is the parts of the Nkechis of this world. So maybe AI is taking the editor's work. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but in speaking to it, there's the human part, the human part where no one can think like you. The value that this person brings, you can't prompt it into life, into being, because human minds is not something you can create an algorithm for. Now, for humanizing, which is what Martin talks about. I mean, again, I reiterate the point that AI is here to stay, and I don't think we should demonize AI. The truth is that it saves us time, particularly for everyday processes, for routine work, for stuff where you need to do so many things And if you stay on that mental block, you probably not be able to meet deadlines and all that. Yeah. But humanizing AI, like you said, right? And to the point of originality, I also still fault it because when you Quillbot and Grammarly and those ones which you mentioned, those are they are editing tools. It's different from the Claude, the ChatGPT, the Grok, and the rest of it, which is like it's more machine learning. It's much more is more detailed. I really do not think. And I think what would happen at some point is the way we accepted that our phone is an everyday part of our lives. It's still the same way we'll come to a form of compromise where our ethical biases or our whatever it is that drives our principles, we're able to create some peace and say we have accepted this thing for what it is, which is what you're doing by calling it humanizing. I think it's more or less accepting that this thing is here. We're going to have smart screen TVs. We're going to have microwaves that get, just realizing that you're not going to be able to warm your food, cancer or no cancer. You cannot warm your food the way your grandmother was warming it when you were 2 years old. Those kind of things. So I think it's humanity determining what are we accepting. Where are we drawing the line? Because I'm not a creative writer. It's not something I do like on an everyday basis. But how can you determine that you don't get lazy when you give AI to clean and it cleans in such a way that in fact, you now really like it? You're not like, oh, let me just see. How many of us will come back and be honest enough to admit that to this place, so it was me. But when he now got to this area, so I think for me, is a point I need to put out. So I put out the ethical part. I put out the IT part. The IT man, because I do some programming. I'm not interested in all of the things that you creative writers are looking for. I'm trying to mass produce. I'm thinking process. If this man asks this, what should be the response? And it's just so much that you can do with it. Yeah. So in my circle, if you submit a work which you have humanized with AI, we'll still call it plagiarism. We'll still say you have cheated because we'll still say it's not your work. But again, those are ethical issues. It's in our own side. This is the way we'll view it.
Thank you so much, Captain. Akinomi, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to re-echo some of the things that Captain said that, at the end of the day, it's about what is the purpose for which you're writing? What are the ethics that govern the area of what you're writing? And eventually, how authentic do you want to sound? And the reason why I used the car analogy, and I absolutely understand what Captain said, was that I was in a meeting sometime last week where somebody was talking about leadership. I'm saying leadership because the book I wrote was on leadership, and he was talking about how I mean everything he was saying around leadership was the exact opposite of everything that the book I wrote represents. And I then realized that if this person were to write a book, for example, if he keys the words into AI would eventually still generate for him words that speak to his style of leadership. Now, the place where we begin to have problem for me is where you are putting something else that number one, like you said, it didn't come from you, but two, it does not also align with your true north or what you believe. I used AI to last week, not for the book, but I had written something and I didn't do this for the book, but I started to do this with some of just small writings where I then say, critique the thoughts behind what I have written. Like, what are the different perspectives? And I had written something about how if you don't need to be the best person to in a team to lead the team. I mean, I wanted to make a point about just showing up and accepting. But when I then put that, AI then puts, I mean, it then prompts something around, you also want to be careful that there's balance where what you are not saying, that what you're not saying is that you don't need to know the technical side of what your team is doing. And that helped me to see that that's not the intention of what I was trying to say. So all I needed to do was to add an extra line that I wrote myself to say that this does not negate your ability to be able to do this and that. At the end of the day, what AI helped me to do was to see another perspective of what somebody else might see. And it then helped me in enhancing that. But the validity of the knowledge itself remains mine. So, like I said, the purpose for which you're writing, I mean, if I were I did some job application recently, don't tell my employer, and then it was put there express. There was a separate document that said code of conduct for the use of AI. It was there. So I knew very well that these ones, whatever I put right at cover letter, definitely first thing they will do, first of first, is that they will sweep it through. But guess what? I swept it through and the system said that it was 62% AI. And I wrote it originally myself. So I then began to read through and say, okay, what do I need to take out? What do I need to change? By the time I did it, I think it still went down to about 52. Honestly, I submitted like that because again, maybe I have used AI so much that I'm now trying to sound that way. So yeah, I mean there will continue to be that thing, but I mean I really understand what so that I keep referring to Captain. I even know what Captain is saying, and the point is that if you are writing into an organization, into a purpose, you would definitely need to understand the ethics behind that governs that space. So for that organization now, I knew very well that I may not hear back from them because if they do pass that thing through, they might say it is AI. And so, yeah.
Thank you, Akimomi. So this takes us back to Nkechi. Nkechi, are you good now? Nkechi, can you hear me?
I hope so.
I'm not. I'm not sure you're still good at the moment, right? But I would just
can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay then. So at what point, to what level
I've
do we then
changed
say
positions and I just hope it doesn't go off again. I mean, what can I is I don't think so. Once I start to speak, I start to see my internet is unstable.
Nkechi, can you hear me now? Oh, I think
Do we
it was
say what?
lagging before. So I mean, well, can you hear me now? Oh, okay. So, Captain, at what point will you know what do you think we should do? Should there be a guide? Should there be a guide that that sort of help moderate or puts balance between AI use and with respect to ethics and then originality,
Yeah.
and also puts into consideration that I think about three of us have mentioned that yes, we've written a piece and then we ran it through AI, the plagiarism checker, and it says that it's AI written. So there's still a lot of gaps in that regard. So what we have to say, sir?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so Akinomi, thank you so very much for that. That in itself is actually a very good reason why we're gathered, why we're having this panelist conversation. The fact that you, as knowledgeable, as vast, as intelligent as you are to know when to use AI, not to use AI, being able to even produce your own work, and then somebody, how frustrating it is for you to now pass it through and they tell you it's 52% AI. You see where the problem is? So I think for me, that is where the problem actually is. The brainstorming part is that you're talking, that brainstorming part for me is not an issue. because you can have an Emmanuel stand in front of you and you ask him that same thing, and he probably will throw back that same, response to you. The challenge for AI is that my hard work will now be passed off as AI. For someone that doesn't have anything to offer, it's not a problem. For people that, because when I buy your book, what I'm buying is not, I can go online and go and look for it. What I'm buying is you. I'm buying a trust that exists between you, the writer, the fidelity that you have, what you have behind those covers are things that are between your two ears. So you see where the problem is. So yes, but then there's also a challenge that technology moves at a faster pace than ethics. So ethics is always playing catch up. We don't even know to what extent these things will go. Deep fake, before you can look at deep fake and know that, oh, this is not a manual. This is, but now, do you see the deep fakes that are around these days? You can even do something and then they'll say you did it. You can go and say it's a lie. You didn't even do it. That is AI. And people will argue because of how very professional and how very proficient AI models are right now. So yes, it's inevitable. Two things would have to happen. Number one, the world will accept that AI can write things for us. They'll be looking for another means of evaluating people's intellectual propriety. That's one. Another thing is to say, okay, for certain things, you are not allowed to use AI at all. But then the argument can even go further to say you use AI to the point that you start thinking like an AI model, which AI model in itself is trying to mirror a human being anyways. So it is possible for you to start writing like an AI model just based off of using it. And you're not done anything wrong. You didn't start writing the way you're writing now. Things influenced you, your environment, the books you read, and all that. So I agree completely that there will be a time where there may need, I'm a student of ethics. I give lectures around our staff colleges and around in the military on ethics. And I'm a big proponent of there must be guardrails. There must be guardrails. History has shown us that where there are no guardrails, the capacity of human beings to do the things that will make you cringe is not, you can't even begin to countenance it, and history is replete with so many things that started out with good intentions, but the consequences, the unintended consequences of that for the whole of humanity. I think for us that have gone to schools where, and now we are formed, where AI didn't play a part in our education, can you begin to imagine what is going through the minds of young kids right now? Imagine how it was difficult for your parents to get you to do your homework, but they made us do it anyways. But now I see my daughter doing homework and using AI. There's just so much you can do. And that's the generation that would not be thinking. So I think beyond even that we're putting out creative writings out there where we have our stamp and our, what's it called? I think that there has to be a clear-cut rule. But the problem is that the man that writes the algorithm is actually not a writer. Because what the man that writes the algorithm uses, he uses data. Sometimes he has no emotional connection with that data. Like an Akinwumi that is writing, the emotional connection you have with his work is different. Or the Martins that is writing, the emotional connection you have with his work. The man that is writing the algorithm has no such encumbrances. He just sees data. Let me end. I saw a question here and just I started typing, but I'll just speak to it. Where I think one of the audience had asked that if you cite AI, would it be a problem? The question is, AI is not your average resource material, because you and I know that AI does much more than that textbook that you are referencing to write your work. So by the time you cite AI one or two times, because of how fast technology has gone and because of how the ethical guardrails that's supposed to make it foolproof is still playing catch up, people begin to doubt your work. They begin to, once anybody knows that you have referenced AI, they begin to doubt your work. And that in itself is a problem. So if I use AI, for instance, for an academic work, I will not want to cite it because I don't want to create doubt in the mind of my of my assessor, so he doesn't begin to think that the whole work was done by AI. Because now Akinwumi cannot tell his people buying his book that he did some cleaning with the AI. That would be suicidal. They would never, even if he's telling the truth, people, because it's not his word against AI, or because people are like, are we sure? So you see, which is the crossroad part of this whole thing, that there has to be an ethical, the same way I can spend ₦1 in Jos and spend it in Lagos, and all of us have accepted that this is a legal tender. We need to come to that same agreement as to what will be the guardrail for us accepting, AI as for the use in our writing.
Thank you, Captain. I mean, I'm not sure we've still found a lasting solution, but based on what you've said, it's progressive. So I'm sure that based on the ethics, at one point we'll get there. I don't want to believe that we will not get there. We'll get there at one point because it affects creativity and originality, sort of. And I saw a question here, which was part of the questions I was asking, that if I use AI, the person cited an example to say, I'm not good with English, but I now keep sending my thoughts to AI. Help me write it well in English. Help me write it well in English, and then I compile all together. We used to say that is not original, and I don't know who wants to answer that question. I mean, I would have loved if Samson was here to speak to that. But Kim, go ahead.
I mean, you think that, and I'm going to say this because just before we started this, I was replying an email at work. I must confess that there were typos in the email, but because I was trying to do something before this, I just copied it, put it in AI, cleaned it up, and sent off the email. The thought was mine, but the reality was that if AI was not there, I would have sat down to correct all those typos myself and do that. The risk is that we would, and I think that it's going to continue, that we will continue to, I don't know about you, but maybe because I have done a lot of search on publishing houses, because I live in the UK and all of that, I keep getting adverts of AI that says, yeah, why are you sitting there with your idea? You can publish a book in 5 hours. Just put the topic, generate the book, we'll do the design page, and boom. And it makes me feel like I started writing my book June 2024. As I speak to you, it's currently in design. So that means that I have spent I could have put it out since, but I have stayed this long because I wanted it to be original to me. I wanted to bring out something that was excellent, that I could put my stamp on. And I started to feel like, but somebody is advertising that they can get it done in 5 hours, just put it and all of that. So, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, what, like Captain said, is that it's yourself you're selling. It's what you can offer. I want somebody to be able to look at the book, read the content of the book, and they understand that Akinwumi understands the core of leadership, and we can engage him for things. Because the reality is, the book will go out. If I've used AI, then people are then calling me to come and do things, and they cannot marry what is in the book and the person that they are speaking with.
But
And I
they'll
honestly
pay
think
you
that
regardless. They'll pay you regardless. Most times it's after the fact. When we invite you, it's like watermelon. It's until we cut it before we know what is in it. You understand?
Exactly.
So where we're sitting now is in front of it. So the part where we're inviting you in the future and all that is a watermelon moment. We need to cut it open. We need to hear you speak before we know if in truth what you have in there is yours. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So
absolutely,
the argument that is you saying that because I want to be able to say that these things repeat them, that's why I need to. The argument is you're selling your own what's it called? I think. I just wanted to put that out there. We have had many resource persons that we invited, very fantastic biographies. And when they stand in front of you, you're like, oh my God. But we were committed to paying them the honorarium. They will use they will use that invite and add it to their bio. And even though you're sulking in your corner, when you put out that bio out there, you have also given him more credence to what it has to do. Okay, so sorry guys. I just want to sorry that actually I enjoy you and I'm owing on you a lot. I think there is some friendship somewhere in there, and I just hope that you take it in good spirit. I just didn't want to lose that, and that's why I jumped in. But I want to say something very quickly about the military. Emmanuel, you know how my time is. So I really want to just say some very quick things. And if you guys don't mind, I'll probably need to run. Um, Military writing is very unemotional. So we mostly because I saw a number of my officers are on here. So people that were my students when I was a chief instructor at the college, I see some of their comments. Yes. And I know some of these things are training than me. So I just want to, yes, military writing is very unemotional. I mean, you guys wouldn't know, but I know. So I can write and somebody else will write. And if we don't put our names, you can literally, because we're training people to like write in a certain way. So we have a certain way we write. So yes, if we pass that through the plagiarizing checker and all that, you can literally say military writing is like AI. So Sandra, I hope I answered that. I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's for us in the military, something we probably need to look at. But I think in everyday writing, we wouldn't check. I think the challenge now goes for those of you that will go for senior staff course, for the National Defense College and all that, ensuring that your good work is not passed off as AI. And that is where we need the likes of the Martins and the manuals of this world to help us so that when people have done hard work, we then don't punish them and say that they've done AI. The other thing I want to just speak to is Damilare. I don't know who that is, but fantastic because I'm reading the charts, and I think that I like there's a comment you made where you said, are we holding AI assisted writing to a higher ethical standard than traditional writing? What I'll say to you is traditional writing has evolved over the years. That's why what Shakespeare wrote several centuries ago still resonates today, because it's not like some other people have not written, but the originality and the creativity, which is what we're trying to ensure that AI doesn't take away, is what is in the front burner. So the traditional means of writing, collaboration, or what's called, we've had some guardrails to how to speak to it, to say, okay, we have a lead author, we have a co-author, we have peer review, we have, so those traditional means, they've evolved over the years. They have their challenges because there is nothing in this life that is foolproof. But in itself, it has gone through series of iterations of, work has gone into it. But this AI area, it's a place where it's uncharted territory. Right now, it's more of what you say than what we can independently verify. So if the degree to which I've used AI will determine to how much that thing matters to me. I imagine I'm looking for a job. Emmanuel is supposed to give me a job and I've used AI. He goes and says, oh, this work is fantastic. But wait, did you really do it yourself or AI? You know, if you say it is AI, you're losing that job. So the degree to which you want people to believe you is the degree to which you'll be dishonest with that thing. Except, of course, this is not a place for morality. This is not a church or a mosque where we put a gun to your head to say, we also must, in this space, we must be able to believe Akinwumi when he says he's the one that wrote his work. We do not need to, you won't buy an Akinwumi's book and scan it and want to pass it through a plagiarism. No one does that. No one will do that. We would trust that this man has done his due diligence. If the world loses that trust, A-Line is out of business. Nobody is going to be publishing books anymore. Authors are out of business. The whole creative world, the knowledge world will suffer because society has advanced because of how watered down knowledge is. The expanse of knowledge has is directly proportional to how, society has evolved. And it's important that creative writing, the Martins of this world, the Akimis of this world, the Emmanuels of this world, that's if you write, that we preserve that space, and that the the thing that you hang around their neck to be saying that, oh, maybe this is not your work, that we tried, that we're able to, remove that from that conversation. Of course, we may not be able to completely do it, but you cannot compare AI assisted to traditional assisted, because the traditional assisted, it has gone through so many years. With AI, we are still playing catch up. We're learning new things. Martins at some point said that he can never tell us everything so that it doesn't let the cat out of the bag. That means that some of us are sitting down here, and some of the things that AI can do, we're not even aware of it. Even though one of our panelists knows, but he doesn't want to share. So those are issues that I think that but again, the way out is ethics. It can't be morality. Morality is too subjective. It has to be a set of rules that we agree together as something that we want to use to moderate whatever creative work that people are bringing out for society to use.
Thank you so much. I think that's a fantastic submission from you, Captain. And I promise you that we'll be up to time. We won't take beyond this time. So I'd just like to get maybe a final word from Martins as we wrap up, and another final word from Akinwumi as we wrap up this particular panel session. Martins, do you want to go first?
Yes. When Captain was talking about ethics, I wanted to chip in, but it would be it won't be ethical to cut him when another is talking. So actually, I do much of academic writing, because I see that the central idea you're discussing on has been books, journals. I do more of academic writing. That's my work, more of academic writing. And Captain said that when they notice or when there's suspicion of use being written by an AI, that there's a way, I don't want to quote him directly, but it was like there will be a kind of discredit for the work. I wanted to come in there, but you didn't give me audience then. There's actually a way to show ethics when you use AI in academic writing. You can create a section and you claim that AI was used in this work, and tell them how it was used, probably for language refinement, to make researches, whatever thing the AI was used to do, write it there so as to preserve academic integrity. Then in my work as a person, what I do is I have an AI logbook. So when a client chats me up that, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, and anytime I use AI, there's a logbook that contains timestamp, commands, and what the output of the command from AI. So, and when lecturers or supervisors, when they see that, they even give that essay more marks, or the project, or the thesis, or the citation, as the case may be. It even earns more marks because they are aware that we are in the world of AI. Claiming not to have used AI is complete dishonesty. So you now not acknowledging the use of AI means that it's a lie. You used it and probably you humanize, because that's what is in vogue now. In vogue rather. People use AI and then humanize, either manually or the use of some tools I don't want to mention now. So when they use the tool to humanize, on my own part, what I think is ethical is to acknowledge the use of AI. So under the appendix, I say appendix A, AI log. So the timestamp when I used it, the command given to the AI, then the results or the output of the command, I put it under the appendix. So that is how I deal with ethics in my work.
Thank you, Martins. What would be your final word for the audience, as in for the people listening to us? What would be your advice with respect to balancing originality, ethics, and maximizing AI in their creative writing?
I would say AI is here to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. AI is here to stay. AI is here to stay. And we should not just rely on AI for whatever you want to write. There is this human innate ability that AI cannot replace. So my advice would be that we should not use AI to write completely, but we can just maybe use it for refinement. I don't know if you understand what I mean by refinement. You, as a man, as a human, you write whatever your piece you want to write. Then, if you want to refine or you want to check for grammatical errors, that is the point where AI should come in, so as to preserve originality. So we should not depend on AI 100% for whatever to write.
Thank you so much. Akinwumi, over to you now.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I mean, just to reinforce what everyone has said, that AI is definitely here to stay. If I go back to my car analogy, I will say that be don't worry, Captain, you're my best friend now. That be in the driver's seat. I mean, I get I mean, there are cars today that it's a self-driving car. I'm saying that you sit in that driver's seat rather than give the AI the control to just drive you, so that at the end of the day you are also able to. I mean, personally, I'm very much on what's the word? Ownership, where there is connection between you. And again, if you look at it in cases like looking for jobs, I have been in places where people have been employed for jobs, and I can't relate the person who I interviewed and the person who is doing the job. I can't relate. I have been in those places, and I'm like, so I am very careful that, and I mean, one of the things that Nkechi, the people Nkechi told me about, Akimi, just put this thing out, because I'm so very careful about if it goes out there, how is it perceived and all of that. And so just think about the sum total of everything. Think about the value part, think about the ethics part, think about your ability to be able to own what you have put out, think about how you want to be represented. But of course, and how all of that together you can leverage on technology to work for you, rather than ceding your thoughts and everything to technology. So let technology continue to remain the tool to get us to where we need to get to, without it being the one that is let me just use my words correctly, but you get what I mean. So technology will continue to be here. I'm sure we'll continue to have this conversation. That's the honest truth. We'll continue to, and this ethics part is a major, major, major deal, to be honest. And like you said, I don't know if I'm going to put it in my book but anyway, I've had two editors work on it since after that, so it should have it should have on AI.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Akinwumi. There are a lot of questions from the chats. I mean, we can't capture all, and it shows that this is a very important conversation. I don't know, Nkechi, can you just speak, or should I read your final thoughts? Then we'll take that of Captain. Nkechi, do you want to try to speak again? Okay.
So
Nkechi,
scared. So I just left my final thoughts in the chat. I'm too scared.
but we
Because
can
this has
hear you
never
clearly now. I think
happened
you should just go ahead.
before. Well, I was going to say that technology will always be faster than we, the practitioners, and what has always happened across all fields and all times is that we tend to play catch up. But it's important that we're having this conversation here. As an editor, my responsibility to my I am the voice of the reader, and it is important that perspective is in the room when work is being edited. The common theme throughout the conversation is that practically everybody is using AI, but nobody wants to admit that they're using AI, right? And that's because there is a certain detraction that it takes from you as an author, or as an author, yes, when it is as if you have used AI in your work, but it's something that we cannot run away from. It is here to stay, like most of the readers have adopted it. What we need to consider is what it is, what level of its usage will still, pass or be passed off as being, authentic or not AI generated. I was looking at the poll and it was credit go to the author or to AI or both. And it's just an interesting conversation that people need to have. The future of authorship, like I said, belongs to those of us who are in this in the field, those of us who are authors, those of us who are editors, military tacticians, like the good Navy captain. And it is we need to have more of these conversations to decide what is acceptable and what isn't, so that we can take the shame away, whilst conserving what is original, to authorship. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nkechi. We actually missed you a lot in this conversation because you were supposed to be the balance, sort of, but it's all fine. We are grateful that you joined also and you gave your final thoughts. Captain, over to you, sir. Captain, you need to unmute, sir.
You see, we're so analog that. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank the organizers of this. I think it's been a very worthwhile use of my time. I, as someone that over the years, I'm in the writing space, in the military writing space. I've been an instructor, I've been a directing staff, I've been a chief instructor, I've written military publications. Then I've also, and then listening to, my friends from the academia, and then Nkechi, even though she was, just also hearing our thoughts, it makes this a very worthwhile venture. One of the things that we cannot run away from, and I think it's a general, it's something all of us have agreed, AI is here to stay. What we're trying to do now is to make sure that we can use it responsibly without chipping away from people's hard work, people's beyond creativity on one side, but even the hard work on the other side. Because it takes a lot of hard work to bring something original that has never been said before. Academic writing, regardless. Martins, yes, I agree. Academic writing. We need to, the academic space, they seem to have a way of they seem to be a little ahead of the curve in trying to, create some kind of guardrails for what is acceptable as your original work. But Martins, if you're in an academia, one of the disconnects with the academic space and the real world is that, in that your space, there's a number of things people have accepted to be true. That when you now come into this our space, is usually, people will really take it to task. But it makes you sleep well at night because it's the society, which is that your academic space, you have agreed that this is how you want to make it work. So expanding this conversation beyond your space is a lot of, like, your AI log. I've never heard this before. But what if I say I don't believe your AI log? Because all of it depends on morality, which is subjective. I think this whole AI thing is to remove the subjectivity from this whole conversation, where we can say, like, for a certainty that this work belongs to Martins. So yes, I think the conversations will continue. The way out is that we need to have that guardrail. Who will be the guardrail? Is it the Guild of Editors? Who will be the people that will do that thing? Who will be the people, and what will be their credibility? What will be their, particularly in light of people like Elon Musk that are interested in throwing away all the things that we hold sacred, and we hold true, and they have money and they have microphones and there's social media and all the rest of it. So yes, AI is here to stay. Yes, AI, we cannot wish it away. Yes, how do we use it responsibly? will probably not be able to answer this question because it changes from person to person. But what we can agree on is that there needs to be, because I also read Nkechi's submission, yes, technology will go ahead, but we really need to have a conversation where A-Line sees an economy's work and says, how much of AI have you used? And there is a way they will tell you that we'll publish books that used AI up to 20%. After 20%, please take your book somewhere else. You know, all those kind of conversations, I think there would then help us to then know that, okay, even if it is available, this is the degree to which I'm permitted to use it. So I thank you guys so much. For those of you that have looked for your trouble, I'm in the field where I look for people's trouble, so forgive me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll just take another group picture while we allow you, our panelists, to leave. But please wait for the group pictures. We'd like to also appreciate you for your time. We understand how important time is, right? And we don't take it for granted. Thank you for availing yourself to join this conversation. Based on this panel session, what we have been able to establish is that AI has come to stay. And yes, every one of us agreed to that. The next thing is that the conversation has to continue as to how we want to maximize AI and to what level. So it's a glad thing for us to end on this note, right, for this panel session, but with the hope that this conversation will continue. And we want to trust that if there's a need to bring you back, maybe for the next series, that you would also be available. I don't know, based on your time, but we sincerely appreciate your time. And to our audiences, I'm sure that you have taken one or two lessons from this, right? And then there is something that you're going on with. And we trust that when we call you to join our webinar next time, you would also want to join because of the wealth of knowledge that's been shared today. On that note, I'd like to say thank you to every one of us that has joined. Thank you, Nkechi. Thank you, Martins. Thank you, Captain Folorunsho. Thank you, Akinomi. And thanks to Mr. Samson Itodo too, for the great keynote speech. Yes, we would be rounding off now after this photo shoot. So please, you can smile so that we can capture it. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. So do enjoy the rest of your day as we end this panel session. We hope to see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.